Hello and welcome to DawnNews English with 20 minutes. I'm Nadia Naqi with you. Today we have Raza Rumi with us, senior journalist, and we shall be discussing what exactly is happening with the caretaker setup. Are they just going to take care till the elections that are due, as the Prime Minister had said last night, that it's going to be taking place maximum in 4 months' time? But there is no specific date given yet by the Election Commission of Pakistan. So there are so many rumors that's going around whether the elections are taking place or not. To top it all, we also have the Chief of the Army Staff meeting the business community, taking the lead for the economic challenges that the country faces. So is he the new messiah for this country? That's what we're going to be discussing today with Raza Rumi. Thank you so much for joining us, Raza. You know, we have been having sessions with you where you've been saying that Chairman PTI Imran Khan had been termed as a messiah for this country, and that's how the establishment had, done political engineering and brought him into power, putting Nawaz Sharif, ousting him from his premiership and then chucking him out of the political scene. Do you think that Chief of Army Staff now is the new messiah? Because the way he has been posturing and the way he has been meeting the business community makes everyone wonder.
Thank you, Nadia. Always good to talk to you. And I think this is a very provocative question, because I'm not so sure whether he can be the messiah, or even if he wants to posture it, and the media, sections of media that are highlighting and painting him as such can succeed. I think what certainly is the fact is the simple reality that the army chief is very much number one, in control and command of his institution, and number two, like the previous army chiefs, he is asserting his power as well as his centrality to Pakistan's political system. And obviously economic policy and economic management is central to whosoever exercises power in any country. And I think that is a clear message for all and sundry, and that is both a matter of concern, but also something that we need to unpack and analyze. Because what it implies also is the fact that after all the political turbulence, and which continues to date, once again, the unelected institution is now at the center stage. And whether it is good for Pakistan's democracy is a big question, and another question.
Absolutely. All right. Now, in your answer, there are so many other questions that you have raised yourself, and certainly we would need you to do some kind of analysis on this. When you say that, he seems to be in control and command of his institution, do you mean that whatever sort of division that existed within the institution, he has now been able to bridge that or probably taken grip of it?
At least on the face of it. If you remember, a few months ago, it was very much, the punditry in Pakistan revolved around the fact, there are divisions within the establishment, and the fact that, this army chief is trying to find his bearings, and maybe he's not that strong an army chief, maybe he's not enjoying the support of, other critical sections within the institution. But all of that is, at least for now, or what appears to be, has been nullified. So I think that was perhaps his own requirement to exercise power. Also, sometimes you have to display power, given the fact that for at least 6 months or so, when he took over, until before 9th of May, it was considered that this army chief is taking a back seat. He is perhaps not going to be as assertive as his predecessors were.
Right.
But of that, Nadia, is now
Okay.
history, and that is what the clear message is, and I think that is what is going to impact now Pakistan's political future as well.
Oh, you see, you're absolutely right. What's going to be the impact on Pakistan's political future is a big question, because I do remember that many, including PMLN insiders, used to say that they are required because the institution in itself is so divided because of PTI and the support that exists within the institution. So would you believe, or would you say that safely, that Nawaz Sharif will have to now rethink of him coming back to Pakistan, because as of now, whatever we see, it seems that the chief is in full control not only of the institution but also the caretaker setup, despite the fact the Prime Minister has said there's sort of no dictation from the army side in the functioning of the government.
I mean, when the Prime Minister says that, Nadia, I mean, it's just a statement. This caretaker government, like almost all caretaker governments, they can feel all sorts of impressions about them and all sorts of legal niceties, but generally they are backed by the establishment. And here, by establishment, we mean the unelected institutions, the military, the Supreme Court, and the Election Commission of Pakistan, and of course the civil bureaucracy. They come into direct power once you have this interim period, and this interim period, unfortunately, is very strange in the sense that it comes after intense political bickering, intense political polarization, seeking of the political space by the political parties themselves, and institutions that are not seeing eye to eye with each other. So you can see that the Supreme Court and the Election Commission of Pakistan are not really on one page. You can see that elements of the judicial establishment are not on one page with the military establishment, and so on and so forth. So in this time of polarization, then obviously the most powerful institution steps in and leads the way, and that is what we are seeing at the moment. Even though we know that certain parts of the judiciary are unwilling, or at least on the face of it, not really playing ball with the plans of the military, but still military is calling the shots, and that's why in this sort of messy situation, you have the figure of the army chief becoming the headline every day for us. So
absolutely. All right. Now, the army chief, the previous army chiefs have also met business community whenever, they are here or they do something, for the economic progress. They feel that, they have a responsibility for the progress of this country, and therefore they always meet. However, the meet that the chief of the army staff had with recent businessmen in Karachi and Lahore, and certain sections of media quoting that he did say that the political parties are corrupt. This is what the message was, and hence, there's no reliability on political parties. However, the ISPR has not given any sort of, explanation on that statement, whether it is a right one, wrongly quoted. And all the political parties that were in power in the previous government also seem to stay quiet. What is the reason, or what could be the reason for them for this silent mode?
Nadia, well, first of all, I think there are two parts. One is the army chief, whoever, in the current case it's General Asim Munir, but why do army chiefs meet a big business? We saw General Bajwa holding these meetings. We have seen General Musharraf holding these meetings. We have seen other generals, who are in command, talking to business and saying exactly the same thing. We'll turn around the economy, be optimistic, and etc., etc. Now, obviously, there is one dimension, the people who support this or apologists of this interaction would say, well, economic security is central to the idea of security. Strong economy is vital for a country's defense. Therefore, the army chief or the military as an institution, as a direct stake and role and concern. But the problem here is that, first of all, the constitution of Pakistan is very clear. It does not ask the military or require the military to assume a role in economic policy making or decision making of this kind. It is very much the task of civilians, especially elected governments via the parliament. So that is what the constitution says. Now, the second part where concern also occurs is the fact that Pakistan's foreign relations, Pakistan's foreign policy, and its engagement with the world, especially with its long-time allies like the Gulf countries, is also, that's the de facto reality, is also a military, led engagement.
Right.
Whether it's Saudis or UAE or even
but the US.
And the US, So historically, they have dealt with the army, and that's what they want to deal with. I mean, because and the Chinese as well, because they know there's one stable institution. Let's talk to them, and they'll get our things done or whatever. I mean, with the Chinese, it's Chinese investments, and with the US, it was security interests. However, with the Western world, Pakistan's engagement has really gone down in terms of both diplomatic and military engagement, and also in terms of economic assistance. Okay. So the entire focus now where Pakistan is looking towards is the Gulf countries, as you heard from the reports of the army chiefs meeting with the businessmen, and to some extent China because of the CPEC interests, etc.
Right.
Now, these two big blocs or these two powers, once again, are not really concerned about something called the Constitution of Pakistan or democracy, for that matter, because these countries and these groups do not believe in that. They don't practice. They are generally authoritarian monarchies or authoritarian political systems like Chinese, where there's centralized decision making, or what our military calls the unity of command, and somebody is at the helm taking policy matters forward. So in a way, Pakistan's military is also being encouraged by this environment with this changed geostrategic. On the one hand, it's concerned because its traditional partner like the United States is no longer doling out the kind of aid that Pakistan is used to since the 1950s, and that is what kept the economy afloat, the foreign exchange coming in. So with that gone, there is also a kind of a mega worry. What are we going to do now? Because the fundamentals in Pakistan's economy and economic management have not changed. So that is where the engagement with the Gulf countries is also driving this particular moment in Pakistan, where you have the military taking the front seat role and taking a lot of issues in hand. So it's a mix of domestic climate. It's a mix of the crackdown that the military establishment did against the PTI after May 9th events and created this whole situation. It's a result of the other political parties like the PDM and the PPP, the outgoing parliament, which handed over a lot of these powers through bills and through resolutions, especially about this economic involvement. If you look at one of the bills passed by the outgoing parliament, which is of course now being contested, enables the military to do this investment facilitation role. So it's it's something that our politicians have actually done, and very unfortunate situation it is, because they perhaps forgot the implications, the long-term implications of their decisions and their legislation, which the democratic system will face.
So the democratic system, of course, that you rightly said so, that there are so many laws that they have passed. There were a lot of criticism that the previous parliament had drawn. But why are the political parties quiet? Are they still hoping that, if they speak out at this moment, maybe they are going to have some sort of sour relations with the, people in power? Or do you think that the economic meltdown or the challenges that Pakistan faces economically are so intense that at the moment it is safer for them to stay away from it and let the army take the lead, or the caretaker take the lead, and resolve this, so that whenever the elections are taking place, it will be much easier for the political party to then probably take it along?
Look, Nadia, if you want a very direct answer, so let's face it, one big political party, PTI, thousands of its workers are in detention. Its leadership is in detention, not just Imran Khan, but Parvez Ilahi, Shah Mahmood Qureshi. So it's like a headless chicken at the moment, okay? Then let's come to the Pakistan People's Party. The kind of cases and the no-fly lists that have come about right after the end of their government is a clear message for the PPP not to cross a certain line. But we'll see what happens. As regards the PMLN, well, one faction led by Shahbaz Sharif, who's technically heading the party, enabled all of this. And the other, Nawaz Sharif, wants to come back to Pakistan. Now, he cannot come back to Pakistan if he is going to be at loggerheads with the army. So that's why your question about the parties being silent or complicit, it's a very, very clear sort of environment that has come about, and that has obviously there is some level of engineering there as well, because all the ducks are in a row for this particular power of the military to have resurfaced in Pakistan's national affairs.
Okay, so do you have any hope that yes, things will improve? Okay, yes, we are all very critical of the army taking this role right now, as they are, because it's not their mandate to do it. As in, talking to businessmen and talking about the economy, XYZ. But do you really think that something will happen this time? Because the businessman community, when you listen to what they are saying, it makes one feel that this time, even the military establishment means business. They're going to stop all sorts of leakages at the borders, stop the smuggling, catch people who are not paying taxes, the land mafia, XYZ, all sorts of problems that the economy faces will be dealt actually by the army this time. Can you say that?
Nadia, look, DawnNews is the mainstream outlet, so I have to be very careful in how I frame it. But look, what have been the results of earlier such involvements that the military has had with Pakistan's economy? Under General Bajwa, in fact, let's forget about the current moment before we speak. The mess that we find ourselves, the economic meltdown, the political crises, and the kind of polarization that the society is facing, along with the repression and on freedom of expression and political activity, etc., is a direct result of the meddling and the engineering that was spearheaded by General Bajwa when he took over in 2016 onwards. Him and his associate General Faiz Hamid, who later on became the DGISI. At that time, he was I think number 2 in the institution. They both worked very hard and very, very effectively from their perspective to undo the system. So from 2017 to today, what we are seeing, the situation that we just discussed about this whole weakening of democracy, rollback of the parliament, etc., it is a direct result of the meddling that they did. But the cost has been very high. The
Right.
cost of political uncertainty is economic uncertainty, and the markets don't respond well. Even today, I mean, we are now in September, and we don't know when the elections are going to be held. The constitution says 90 days. Now they're saying in January,
Right.
February, maybe in March, maybe not. So obviously that is one driving factor. But there are other factors too, because the other factors are what will happen to Imran Khan. Will he be able to participate in the election? Will his party face the election? There are some political analysts who are saying, well, the balla or the bat symbol of PTI would not be on the ballot rolls. Now, how can that be a fair election? People are asking these questions.
Right.
Okay. So the result of that earlier meddling is what we are facing today. Well, the solution is to fix that. The solution is once again for the Pakistan military as an institution to sit there, all the top commanders sit there and reflect on the last 7-8 years and see how things have gone from bad to worse and what should be done. And what should be done is not their increased role, but their decreased role in civilian matters. I wish it was yielding, like other parts of the world, China or South Korea or Singapore, where authoritarian governments were delivering high economic growth, high export-led growth. In Pakistan, it has never been the case, whether it was in direct dictatorships or through this semi-hybrid rule that we are seeing. So yes, it's good for optics, it's good for boosting maybe some sentiment, and of course, in certain matters, you need the military, like this whole smuggling operations and the borders and border management. Of course, you need the military, but these meetings, and I don't have a big problem that the army chief is meeting the businessman, but the thing is, he should not be leading that meeting. I mean, you have a caretaker prime minister, you have a caretaker finance minister, you have advisors on energy and this and that and the other. They all should be driving these meetings, and yes, army chief can be present there. Why not? If there's a border issue, if there's a security issue, if there's investment facilitation issues to be sorted out, but for the military to take a direct role in agriculture and IT, in dealing with Gulf countries, I'm not so sure if that's going to be effective at all. Maybe in the short term, there may be this impression of stability that the military is trying very hard to create, but its consequences, unfortunately, we have to again look at the history.
Right.
So I can't really predict whether these initiatives are going to be successful or not. The only lens that we have is what has happened in the past.
Okay.
So the historical lens tells us that the current efforts and the current way of pushing it may not deliver the results that we are hoping. Now look at this term, $100 billion, $75 billion coming in a year or 2 or 3 years. A lot of realists, and maybe some will call them cynics, say that's not possible. Getting $75 billion in 2 to 3 years, even by your best of friends. I mean, how is that going to come about, and on what terms, and in what method, what modality, etc. But all said and done, before we criticize the military further, we have to, what you raised earlier, we have to ask the political parties, what is their stance? Okay, we have the PPP, we have the PMLN, we have the JUI, we have ANP, and then we have the PTI. Okay, its leaders are in jail. There's a second in line. There are other PTI leaders there. None of them, especially, PTI is under a crackdown, so let's exclude them for a minute. But the others, I mean, they have to speak up, Nadia. It's not your job or my job.
Absolutely. And that's what, I'm amazed by the fact that they're not even saying a word. So there is some sort of understanding. I mean, we can only speculate. Lastly, I just want to ask you, because we just have to close the show, it's about 2 minutes left. Do you think it's going to be so easy? And this again is a very speculative question. When people say that we don't know whether the elections are going to take place, maybe, it's going to be not 3 months, 4 months, maybe it's a longer caretaker setup. But we do know that, there is a change at the judiciary. I mean, there's going to be a new Chief Justice. Do you think this is going to be so easy then?
Yeah, I think that's a big stumbling block. But once again, Nadia, the Chief Justice is there for a year and a few months, 13 months, if I'm not mistaken. And the thing is that, the boys have been there for 75 years, okay, as the firm and the civilian bureaucracy. So, okay, Qazi Faiz Isa is an independent judge. She is seen as a person who does not shy away from critiquing and, handling the military affairs. But the fact of the matter is that, how much of that burden can he take? If the civil society, if the political society is not willing to come forward and reset the direction of the country, so we should not be hoping that everything will be fixed by him. He will take care of it. No, the fundamental question is that the political forces, the political parties who have a stake in this system, who have to contest the election and come back into power, whosoever, they have to lead this resetting or normalizing or balancing act at the moment. At the moment, the pendulum has swung all the way. So if the pendulum had swung last year, at the end of last year, one way, where you had the King Imran Khan challenging the entire establishment, old establishment, and appearing as this new establishment or the voice of a new array of forces, now the pendulum has swung completely to the other direction. Okay, and neither of the two situations are tenable. We need the pendulum to come in between, and for that we have to push as media persons, as civil society, and we have to remind our forces. We have to remind our
political parties.
Yes, that your previous decisions have led to this pass, so you better fix it. Right. We're not going to let you repeat the mistakes of the past.
Thank you so much, Raza, for being with us. It's time to close for now, and we shall be keeping an eye on what the development takes place. Let's see whether the caretaker setup is here for 3 months or so, or is the Election Commission going to take longer? It is now the entire responsibility of the Election Commission of Pakistan, according to the new law, that they have to announce the date for the election, that is the election schedule, although we do have a division on this decision too, with Pakistan People's Party and PTI being in the same line, saying that the elections are supposed to take place in 90 days because the 90 days clause of the constitution is sacrosanct, which means that within 90 days all sorts of work that is to be done by the Election Commission of Pakistan in terms of delimitation, announcing the election schedule, and the campaigning of the political parties within this aspect. This too is going to be contested because JI has already taken this to the courts. Let's see what is going to happen next. Till then, take care and goodbye.
Thank you.